Good afternoon, ladies and gents. It is once again time for Torch Sports. Joined by Patrick Falcon, Luke Attal, and Luke Lamry, I'm Jeremy Knopf II. A pleasure to have you guys joining us for the last episode of September. The first full month of the 2025 college football season is almost complete, and the action is really starting to heat up. The Tennessee Volunteers face their first true road test this Saturday against the Mississippi State Bulldogs, and we'll be giving you all you need to expect for tomorrow afternoon's matchup in Starkville, Mississippi. And on top of that, a different crew will be on the show to break down the SEC's announcement of permanent opponents for the next 4 years, as well as previewing what the new college basketball season will have to offer. So on that note, gentlemen, let's get rolling. After a big bounce-back performance against the Birmingham Blazers, the Volunteers resumed conference play, this time on the road again. The Mississippi State Bulldogs are making noise in the SEC, going from a 2-10 record the previous year to now starting undefeated. This is Mississippi State's first conference opponent, and they are bringing the energy. The crowd will be sporting the Wida effect and bringing the cowbells in Davis-Wade Stadium to create a hostile game day environment for when the Vols come to visit. So this is a rematch from last year's matchup in Neyland Stadium when the Volunteers grabbed the win against the Bulldogs 33-14. But of course, this is a new team, a different team led by second-year head coach Jeff Lebby. He has done an incredible job of revamping that team and that program. And there are several parts of this squad that the Vols will really need to pay attention to as they get back on the road.
Yeah, just to provide context, this is the fourth SEC team since 2010 to start 4-0 and not be ranked. I think this Mississippi State team is seriously underrated, and that starts on the offensive side of the ball with quarterback Blake Shapen, 67% completion, 884 yards, 7 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. You want to talk about showing up when it matters? Versus number 12 Arizona State, 279 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 57.6% completion percentage. This guy can run a little bit too, 51 yards on the ground versus NIU. And that's a big jump from last year. We saw he got hurt last year. Michael Van Buren had to come in, ended the season with about 1,800, 1,900 yards on the entire year. Shapen's probably going to double or triple that. I mean, this kid looks really good. They have legitimate weapons on the outside. Last year, only one receiver for Mississippi State had over 500 yards receiving. That's insane. I mean, that's absurd. Now you got Brennan Thompson, who has 291 yards and 3 touchdowns of the year, and Anthony Evans, who has 290 yards and 2 touchdowns of the year. They have legitimate threats all over the field.
Yeah, when you got wide receivers like that, where you can spread the ball different sides of the field, and a quarterback who's accurate in throwing the ball, that's dangerous. But I'm looking at this entire offense in general. I can't remember the last time that I've seen a Mississippi State team put up 63 points. Yep. Like, granted, it was against Alcorn State, I understand. But, like, you don't see that a lot from Mississippi State, especially after last year going 2-10. Not having a good year at all, and now they're 4-0 with momentum.
I mean, you want to talk about a turnaround. 2-10 and horrendous in the SEC, and now, you know, and sure, they're getting back shape, and we'll get into that in a little bit, but I mean, what a turnaround.
Especially, like, the teams that they've beat. Alcorn State, not a great team, but they blew them out. But that Arizona State win gives them a ton of confidence.
Yeah.
That was the number 12 ranked team in the country.
That's a reputable win. Yeah.
So not only are they 4-0, granted they haven't played an SEC team yet, this is their first SEC matchup, but they have the confidence going into this game to know that they can hang with anybody, and that's not something you saw from them last year.
And going back to the offense, I think you look at the year 1 to 2 jump for Jeff Lebby. He's getting his guys in. The young guys are getting some time to develop and gel in the system. But he was the offensive coordinator at Ole Miss when they had that dangerous offense for a few years, just 2 to 3 years ago. So this guy has a great scheme on offense, and now that he's got talent, it's scary.
I think the other thing, too, with that is when you have a new coach like Jeff Lebby, who last year, first year coaching Mississippi State, obviously not a great year, right? 2-10, not what you want to see as your first year as a head coach, but it's tough when you just come into that role. But I'm glad that this Mississippi State team stuck with him because he's proved that he's got a system that he wants to make work, and they're making it work this season. So even though we're talking Tennessee going down there, I think the fact that Jeff Lebby is sticking around and the fans are giving him this chance, I think that's fantastic because he's proven that he's wanting this team to be better than they were.
Especially in this day and age. I think you see that so much. You don't see the loyalty that you saw in previous decades of college football, basketball, or sports you're seeing as well. Well, one bad season and all of a sudden, you know, you're done. And so you're exactly right, a high turnover rate. And so it is nice to see that for Jeff Lebby. I think that's amazing. But I want to talk about Fluff Buffalo. I mean, can we talk about Fluff? Fluff. I want you guys to give me a name like that.
Fluff.
Not Fluff, but a different name. But like some, a cool nickname like that. He's their guy. Last week, 101 yards on 17 carries, 2 touchdowns. He's a really good running back, and it's going to be somebody that Tennessee's going to have to look out for, especially containing that run game. Sometimes it's a little iffy with Tennessee. I think one of these things, you have to look out for Fliff. There's a lot of other threats on this team this year. I think last year, this team, you looked at Mississippi State and you thought, check it off the list. I think this year there's a lot to look at. We'll get into that a little bit, Jeremy.
Yeah, absolutely. And not only was this a big turnaround for Mississippi State, but it was a quick turnaround by Mississippi State.
Yes.
And you don't really see a whole lot of that in college football. There are some examples like the 2013 Auburn Tigers, for example. You have the Florida State Seminoles from last year to now. And the Mississippi State Bulldogs especially will have a lot to prove for when the Volunteers come to play in Starkville. Well, the previous week, we all discussed the importance of the Volunteers needing to bounce back, and bounce back they did with a big performance last week against the UAB Blazers. The Big Orange offense had yet another big day with Joey Aguilar leading the pack with 3 touchdowns. Peyton Lewis, Deshaun Bishop, and Stark Thomas accounting for 4 combined rushing scores, and Chris Brazel and Mike Matthews highlighting big plays for the wide receiver room. The defense also made some big moves with Boo Carter tallying up 9 total tackles, 3 of which were for a loss, and a big interception by the Nashville native Andre Turrentine. Another number that may open your eyes is that in this game, 22 true freshmen got a chance to not just play, but to start in this game.
They want to see that.
And that's big.
They wanted to see the field. Coach Heupel gave them that opportunity, and now there are several of these true freshmen that want to take the next big step for the Volunteers.
Yeah, I'm going to start with Ty Redmond, and this isn't necessarily, do I think he's going to take the next step? This is, I'm not giving him an option. Neither is Coach Heupel. He needs to step up. If you look at this secondary is banged up. They're battered. They're bruised. Jamal McCoy's out. Ricky Gibson's still out. And Ty's had an up-and-down season. I mean, you feel for him a little bit. He's a true freshman coming in, and he plays really well for Syracuse. He's got 2 passes defended. But then you get to the Georgia game, and, man, he can't tackle anybody. You get this last or the first play in overtime for Georgia, and he gives up contain on the big run. And then that touchdown late in the fourth quarter to London Humphreys that helped clinch Georgia the game. He's getting burned over the top. He's got to find some consistency here. Even last week, he gave up a 61-yarder in zone coverage that he looked kind of confused on. So he has to gel. He has to be more ready in these big moments when he needs to make plays, because McCoy and Gibson aren't coming to save him right now.
100%.
I think tackling's huge. I think tackling is massive on this team, especially when you're in an away environment. You're looking at a different stigma, those cowbells. I mean, those are going to be really loud. For me, Arian Carter, I think that you've got to make these tackles. He has 32 total tackles on the season thus far, 1 forced fumble and a sack. He's a powerful guy, and I think you're looking at a Mississippi State team with 2 transfers who have made a pretty decent-sized impact. You're looking at Anthony Evans and Brendan Thompson, Oklahoma and Georgia transfers. These are 2 guys who are, in my opinion, the top guys in the wide receiver room for Mississippi State. 38 receptions on the season, 581 yards. Just the 2 of them. That's just their 2 receivers. So if Tennessee's not making these tackles, there's a lot of yards that could quickly go up on that stat sheet and a lot of points that could go on that scoreboard.
100%. Arian Carter, definitely a leader that this team needs
Absolutely.
right now on the defensive side of the ball. I'm going to move to the offensive side of the ball, though, and talk about Braylon Staley. A lot of talk has emerged about Chris Brazel and Mike Matthews as being kind of the 2 main guys for this wide receiver core that they're going to lean on. But Braylon Staley has held his own this year. He's second on the team in receiving yards with 281, right behind Brazel. And you see it in the first game of the season, that long connection that Aguilar had with Staley against Syracuse. He's just been a consistent guy for the Vols. And the more wide receivers that you have, the more pressure you put on the other team's DBs. Because if your wide receivers are more deep than their DBs, who's going to cover them? Right?
Especially with Heupel's spread offense. He makes you cover every inch of grass on that field. There's not a person out there that you cannot cover, and when you have the talent to go along with that scheme, that's huge.
100%. And if you're looking at film on these guys, you have Brazel, Mike Matthews, and Braylon Staley, and I'm not saying they're all going to be on the field at the same time every single play, but if you do have the 3 of them on the field at the same time, who are you putting your best guy on, right? You got to have 3 good
threat.
DBs.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so that's just another step in the playbook for Heupel to consider in this one if Braylon Staley steps up.
Yeah, well, some fans and critics may not realize how important it is in the world of college football to really make a good impression, especially a big first impression. And these freshmen right here, they really stepped up big. And it doesn't even matter who the opponent is. Like, it's UAB. it is still an opportunity to show your stuff and see what your value is for this team.
And I think there was a little bit of a stigma out there as, maybe Tennessee was a little slow. Maybe Tennessee didn't put up as many points as ETSU. It wasn't the slaughtering that ETSU was. And I think you have to look at that point right there. There were so many new players coming into this game for Tennessee that got experience, that got a little bit of tape for coaches to see, that, you can look at in the film room and say, I made an impact, and that is important for the future of this team.
Well, several of these players and more got an opportunity to create some big highlight reel moments on the field. For more on that, here is our play-by-play crew, Zach Pilfrey and Lucas Reiser-Weber. Take it away.
Thanks, Jeremy. Luke, we're going to go back to what you were just talking about with the offensive side of the ball for Tennessee. So Tennessee has been, as of recently, lighting it up on the offensive side of the ball. As we can see right here, Braylon Staley getting behind the defense, something that we haven't seen from Tennessee in these past couple years.
Lots of in the middle throws, too.
Another thing that's going to be important in this game, actually, before that clip right here, Chris Brazzell down here in the corner. I want you to watch this move. He's kind of faking, he's blocking on the outside, but then he cuts to the inside. That's something that we saw a lot from Jalen Hyatt a couple years ago.
Exactly.
Something that Tennessee is very known to specialize in.
Face.
Again, right here, let's look at Deshaun Bishop kind of breaking through the hole. This is going to be important for this game because as we're going to see later about Mississippi State's defense, they're not all there up front. So being able to create those holes and create those big run opportunities is something that Tennessee needs to capitalize on. As we can see down here, we've talked about this all year, I feel like. Joey Aguilar using his legs, being able to roll out the pocket and make a throw. That's kind of something that he brings to this Tennessee offense that they necessarily haven't had.
Right. It's the throwing and the rushing. That's both things that you can use to gain those first downs.
A dynamic quarterback is something that Tennessee will need in this game against Mississippi State. Jeremy?
Thank you very much, guys. You'll be hearing a lot more from Zach and Lucas later on in the show. Well, as we continue our discussion about the Volunteers' offensive production in 2025, here is where the Vols offense ranks right now in the SEC. So we'll get that for you here in just a moment. Yeah, take a look at that right there. And the big thing you see is that Tennessee's offense ranks top 5 in all of these categories. They're dominating right now in passing yards per game and total points per game. In total yards per game, they are in second place right behind the Missouri Tigers. And right now, they are in 5th in rushing yards per game. So we can talk about stats and numbers all day if we wanted to, but this is the part of the season where, regardless of what your stats are, there is little to no room for error. Now, these areas, these numbers right here, they are pretty good. But what areas of this offense will Tennessee really need to build on as this gauntlet of a schedule continues?
Well, for me, it's not a specific player or asset that this team has. It's going to be third downs. And the third downs for this team are huge. Right now, Tennessee is converting on 56% of their third downs. I've seen worse, but that's also not great. You want to have a higher conversion rate than that. And third downs are drive killers. If you don't convert on third downs, you lose a lot of momentum. And that's a huge thing for this team right now is I think just making sure you stay on the field on third down and you keep giving yourself opportunities to score.
I want to see more aggressive plays on third down if I'm Tennessee. And for me, I think I'm looking at the run game for Tennessee. I think there's a lot of potential in this Tennessee run game to be explosive. Mm-hmm. And for me, looking at the film, I don't see a whole lot of it. I mean, Tennessee has got 3 different guys. You get Star Thomas, Deshaun Bishop, Peyton Lewis. There are 3 guys there. They are very capable of making big plays. And for me, they're all averaging around 6-7 yards a carry. And I want to see them explode more. I want to see more aggressiveness. I want to see Star Thomas. I've talked about Star Thomas all season long. I want to see him explode. Mm-hmm. I want to see him get physical. I want to see him get out there and run some people over. I want to see some really impactful rush plays because I feel like it's all been Joey Aguilar, which is great for Tennessee. But running game is important too.
100%. Luke, you talked about drive killers. Miscues are such horrible drive killers. They've been killer for the Vols this season. Tied for 105th nationally with 28 penalties. Now, that's both offensive and defensive side of the ball, but that applies a lot to the offense, and that has accounted for 242 yards. And let's not act like one of the most important plays of the year was not a false start penalty that pushed Max Gilbert back to miss that kick. That was huge. That was a drive killer. And then you look at the receivers, they're dropping passes. Joey Aguilar has 3 interceptions on the season. 2 of them have been caused by Braylon Staley slipping or a ball bouncing off his chest. And that needs to improve. Once again, not going to hurt you versus UAB. Not going to hurt you versus ETSU, but it hurt you a lot versus Georgia. I mean, that interception in the third quarter was game changer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and back to that, like Tennessee has put on some big performances this year offensively, but especially with the schedule that is coming up soon, they're going to have to fix some of those mistakes, especially the
100%.
penalties.
Yep.
And there is still a whole lot more to cover before kickoff tomorrow, so stay with us for more analysis between the Volunteers and the Bulldogs. But right now, the 22-ranked Lady Volunteers volleyball squad are 10-1 this season, winning their first conference game of the season last week against the Georgia Bulldogs. And our own Allie Campbell had the chance to speak with a key player to their success, Peyton Chapman.
The hitter Peyton Chapman. Peyton is a sophomore from Colorado, and she leads the team in kills this year with 83. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
So taking it back a little bit, you are obviously super athletic. I would imagine you'd be great in many sports, but why did you specifically choose volleyball?
I wanted to play D1 basketball. When I was in elementary, middle school, I wanted to play basketball, and then my mom put me into club volleyball, and I fell in love with it, and my siblings got me into volleyball. My brother and sister played volleyball, so
Wow.
they really got me into that.
So as a freshman, you were second on the team in kills and blocks. And then this year, still as an underclassman, you lead the team in kills with 83, and the runner-up is 19 kills behind you, so you are just dominating. What do you attribute this early success to?
I give all my success to my team. I can't do this by myself, and that's one thing I've really learned this year is that it's not about what you do individually, it's definitely what you do as a team.
Coach Eve said that you've worked on your jump serve and being a back row attacker as well. How have you seen improvement in those areas?
I've seen so much improvement. Eve had me starting to do a topspin serve because she knew it would help with my back row attacking, and I've seen tremendous differences.
So building yourselves up going into SEC play, what is the mindset of this group entering next week?
Doing our job. The past does not predict the future, and that's a big thing Eve has been saying to us, and I've been taking it to heart because just because we had that great game against Georgia Tech doesn't mean we'll always have a great game, and we always have to keep working.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. Tennessee is preparing for their first of 4 SEC road games this season, with the Mississippi State Bulldogs being the first test tomorrow at 4:15 Eastern Time. To bring you up to date on who's in and who's out, let's bring in Lauren Gimpler with our injury report. Give us the rundown, Lauren.
Thanks, Jeremy. Looking at this week's injury report, Tennessee has officially ruled out 5 players. Cornerback Jermon McCoy is still recovering from his ACL tear, while Ricky Gibson III continues to battle his Week 1 injury to his left arm and has no set return date at this time. Defensive lineman Davon Hobbs has been sidelined due to a foot injury that he suffered during fall practice, while receiver Rodarius Jackson has also been ruled out dealing with a collarbone injury from a hard hit against Georgia. And lastly, running back Hunter Barnes will miss tomorrow's game with an unspecified injury. The Vols have also listed running back DeJuan Morris and offensive lineman David Sanders Jr. as questionable. Sanders Jr. continues to battle a unique ankle injury according to Coach Heupel. But some good news for the Vols. Defensive lineman Jackson Moy is expected to return this weekend after suffering a shoulder injury in the season opener against Syracuse. Now looking at Mississippi State, the Bulldogs have ruled out 2 players, defensive lineman Will Whitson and offensive lineman Blake Steen, who are both suffering season-ending injuries. The Bulldogs have also listed linebacker Darian Gillette as questionable with an unspecified injury. Both Tennessee and Mississippi State enter Saturday's matchup dealing with a number of key injuries, with several starters ruled out or listed as questionable. Roster depth and in-game adjustments could play a major role in determining the outcome. Back to you, Jeremy.
Thank you very much, Lauren. So as she mentioned, Tennessee is still dealing with some key injuries, and Mississippi State is well aware of that. So where's the fault in the Vols lineup right now that Mississippi State might be honing in on?
Well, we've talked a lot about the DBs and how banged up the Tennessee's DBs are right now, with Ricky Gibson being out and Jermon McCoy still being out. And we've talked about that a lot. But I'm going to look on the offensive side of the ball, and I'm going to talk about David Sanders real quick, because David Sanders was a guy that had so much hype coming into this year. Fans are waiting to see him play. We thought we were going to see him play against Syracuse.
Heard about that weight he put on too. I mean, there was so much weight that he gained. When
Exactly.
He got training camp.
And you love to see that with an offensive lineman.
He's a big boy.
Exactly. And fans are waiting to see him come back. So to see him move from out to questionable could be a little step forward. Still probably not going to play this game, but I think he's a guy that once he does come back is going to be a huge addition for the Vols offensive line and could help with the run game too. Creating that space, creating those holes for Star Thomas to run through, or the Deshaun Bishop, whoever. But I think he's going to be a guy that once he does come back is going to play a big role for the Vols.
I'm looking at the defensive pass game, and I know we've talked a lot about it, but it truly is something where if you look at Tennessee's schedule, it's got to be a little better in my opinion. Opponents are completing 67.1% of their passes against Tennessee. That's 2/3 of every pass. Let's drop it in someone's hands. And that's a little daunting to me. And another stat here, the Volunteers have allowed 19 passing plays of 20-plus yards. To me, it doesn't solely rely on Ty Redmond here. That right there, those stats are not just Ty Redmond. That's a defense as a whole that's getting a little sloppy, that's getting a little tired. We talked a lot about early in the season, playing through these games, getting to the end of the game, and, well, we're up 40 points. Let's just, you got to play the full 60 minutes. Heupel is a big advocate of that. And so for me, you have to stay disciplined throughout the entire game.
And those explosive plays, if I can add real quick, those explosive plays are what win football games.
Absolutely.
We mentioned that a ton of times on the show.
100%.
So if Tennessee keeps giving up those large passes, that's detrimental.
I agree with you. And going back, not even just affecting the pass game, it's affecting the run game so much. If you look at that game flow versus Georgia, you start out first, early second quarter, a lot of screen passes, a lot of swing passes. We saw that with the 36-yard touchdown to Zachariah Branch. And then once you get towards the end of the second quarter, beginning of the third, 13-play drive with 10 runs, 14-play drive with 13 runs. So Tennessee's defense coordinator, Tim Banks, he's kind of caught in between here because his corners aren't able to tackle right now with the injuries to Jermon McCoy, with the injury to Ricky Gibson. So he has to put more people out there. He has to widen the field more so that he's not getting up these screen plays. Well, then Georgia's outnumbering you in the box. I mean, if you watch those two drives, the 13-play drive with 10 runs, 14-play drive with 13 runs, there was not a play where Tennessee had more people in the box than Georgia, especially if you count a mobile quarterback who can run the option like Gunnar Stockton can. You're outnumbered, and it's just simple math. If they have 9 people in the box and you have 7, they have 2 extra guys. So a runner's going to be free, and before Tennessee even touches the running back, it's going to be 5 yards. It's going to be 6 yards. And then Tim Banks has to go stack the box. And you're looking at the London Humphreys touch, and you're like, oh, my goodness, why is Ty Redmond one-on-one? Well, Tim Banks can't trust his defense to not give up a 6-yard rush on 4th and 6, so he has to put Ty Redmond on an island, and that just kind of messes everything up.
Well,
That's a great breakdown. That was phenomenal.
That was impressive.
That was amazing.
That was impressive.
Patrick, with all the knowledge here today, I love to see it, love to hear it. Well, not only is there some concern about key injuries and deciding who is going to fill in those shoes, but there's also concern in this game surrounding Coach Heupel's record against SEC opponents on the road. So he has been in 16 SEC road games during his time in Tennessee. 7-9 is his current record. 3 of those losses coming when a ranked Tennessee lost to an unranked opponent, which is kind of like this situation right here. Number 15 Tennessee is going into Starkville against an unranked Mississippi State, but they are hot right now. They are 4-0. So what should they expect once the Vols walk into Davis Wade Stadium?
They got to expect a raucous environment. I mean, we can make all the jokes we want about the cowbells, how they're illegal, how the SEC shouldn't allow them, but I'm a little shook if I hear 60,000 people just over and over again. And there's kind of a stigma that Heupel is like super bad on the road, but Tennessee is tied for the 5th most SEC wins since 2021 on the road. And only 3 teams have a winning record in that scenario. So it's not like overall that he's struggling, but you're right. There seems to be one game a year that he's going to consistently drop. Last year's Arkansas, 2023 Florida, 2022 South Carolina. So how do you respond to that environment? When stuff starts to go wrong, when they break a tackle, we just talked about the tackling struggles, when Tennessee misses a tackle and those cowbells start ringing, the Bulldogs start driving, how are you going to respond when Joey Aguilar might throw a pick? How are you going to respond when 60,000 fans screaming in your ear and that those cowbells are going off?
I think you said it perfectly there. The cowbells are annoying, but that does make a difference.
100%.
However much louder you can get your stadium for the opposing team, that makes a big difference, and especially for a big SEC team too. But I think what's going to be interesting is I would love to be a fly on the wall in the Tennessee locker room leading up to this game and hear what Heupel is telling Aguilar as he gets ready for his first SEC road game. because Heupel's been in this situation. He's coached these games, and you mentioned with Arkansas last year, Florida the year before, there's always that one game that seems to slip out of the hands that fans are expecting the Volunteers to win. But this is Aguilar's first real road test, and so I'm very curious to hear what Coach Heupel has to say to Aguilar to get him in the right mindset for this game.
It's going to be interesting, and to be on a fly on the wall in that locker room would be, just outrageous. But I think if you're looking at Aguilar, you got to calm him down a little bit. You got to prepare him, and I'm sure he knows about the cowbells. And I don't know why we're emphasizing the cowbells so much. But it's an important part of this environment that the Vols are playing in. And so you've got to calm him down a little bit. But I think it's also this Mississippi State team is a really physical team. This is a team. Last year, obviously, you're 2-10, so the guys aren't that motivated. These guys are hungry. These guys are really, really hungry. Look, 25.8 points per game last year. Now they're scoring 39.8. Obviously, there's a big jump there. They want these points. They want these points. If you're looking at, their record, they're going to sit there and think, well, we'll get them next year. Now, these guys are hungry, and they're feisty, and they're really, it's going to be a big, big game here. I'm excited for
100%. And you mentioned earlier in the show, I think it's just important to circle back to, this is a team who you could make a case to be ranked right
100%.
now. 100%.
Yeah.
You could make a case for them to be in the top 25. So just because they're not ranked doesn't mean that it's an easy win for the Volunteers by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
And back to that Joey Aguilar point, it is his first true road test as an SEC quarterback. But has he not responded to every single test that this season has given him? Oh, first big game against Syracuse in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. It's going to be a Power 4 team. How's he going to respond? Bang. Goes out, leads the team to a win. 372 yards, 5 touchdowns versus Georgia. He's responded to every test, so can we really say that he's not going to respond to this one?
To me, if you're looking at all of the tests that he's passed so far, and I hate to be devil's advocate, when is he going to not pass? Is there going to be a point where he fails?
I don't know.
Is there going to be a point where he does not deliver? For a guy that came from a different team, learned this system, learned this playbook, all of a sudden, you're exactly right. He's passed every test. When is he not going to pass? If he's passed Georgia, he's passed Syracuse, he's demolished some other team. When does he not pass? I don't know. When does he fail?
I don't have the answer to that.
And I hope it's not. I hope it's not this weekend.
Yeah,
I hope it's not this weekend.
Yeah, well, going back to the point of calming down Joey Aguilar, I believe that everybody on this team, especially these starters, young freshmen starting in this game, they're really going to have to take a deep breath because this is a big environment that is not their own, and that is going to play a big role in this game. And earlier we've gotten to see some big highlights from the Volunteers and how they performed, but let's send it back to Zach and Lucas for what Mississippi State has to offer.
Yeah, thanks, guys. For right now, we're going to look at the offense of Mississippi State. Heupel and Jeff Levy actually were at Oklahoma at the same time, so their offensive styles are very similar. This run game right here is going to be very important that you're going to see. But I kind of want to look at the pass game. With our freshman corners starting, Mississippi State was burning
They're explosive.
Arizona State's corners. It was something that wasn't expected as they go 2-10 last year. Exactly. This year 4-0 could make a case for being undefeated. All right, let's look right here. Okay, kind of look at this guy around the corner. He's kind of turning to the outside, runs a skinny post, and that's just something that attacking the zone, something that we're going to see a lot in this game as our corners are a little bit more on the inexperienced side. Again, right here, 41 seconds left in this game. You can see how he kind of ices the game, looks downfield, and again, it kind of just burns the corner on the outside. This was the 4th long play that they threw in this game that resulted in 50-plus yards.
Yeah. No, that's just kind of what happens when you have an explosive defense, and we'll see how that goes against Tennessee and their young corners. But looking at Mississippi State's defense, they had a win, but they looked a little shaky. They had struggled with their tackling. They struggled with their edge rushing. But we're going to take a look first at their tackling. They gave up 200 rushing yards, 100 per running back. He gets in these positions. How do you not make this tackle? This ends up being a first down. Those are crucial plays that you have to capitalize on, especially when you're entering this conference play. And we see it later on in the game. They did not show up. 2 minutes left in the 4th. Takes it up. Are we defending ourselves here? Are we serious? This ends up being, I'd say, about a 30-yard play, almost a touchdown at the end of the game. If it's not for that nice tackle right there, that could have iced the game. Mississippi State might not even had a chance to come back after that. But what I want to look next at is the edge rushers. They had a nightmarish game. We have Deontay Anderson, Brendan Jennings. Deontay Anderson just gets thrown down off the play, leaves Levitt to move to the outside, and Brendan Jennings, I mean, he's getting thrown around like a toy. I want to go back to this because Tennessee's O-line is going to have a field day with these guys. Brendan Jennings on the top of the screen, I mean, guys, he's just getting thrown around. I mean, it's like a ball. And Levitt was running around getting these first downs all game. And with Aguilar and his wheels, he can move out of that pocket and either get that first down or go to someone like Brandon Staley or Mike Matthews after the play on that pass run.
I would argue that the key in this game will be whose run offense is better. Like we just saw with their defensive front, offense. Can Tennessee's offense capitalize?
Yeah.
Jeremy?
Thank you, guys. I feel like we're talking a lot about Tennessee's offense in this show, but let's flip it to the defense, especially the run defense. Hasn't looked its strongest thus far this season, especially when you can consider that the Vols have allowed an average of 93.3 rushing yards per game, which is currently the 8th least in the SEC. It is not exactly terrible, but it's not the exact position that you want to be in at this point of the season. And with Mississippi State's run defense looking very hot right now, how did the Vols prepare for this dynamic run game?
For me, it's very plain and simple. It's just open field tackling. You heard Zach and Lucas talk about it with Mississippi State's defense. Tennessee's defense needs to focus on the same thing. Get your guy to the ground, and yards after contact need to be at a minimal for this game.
Without a doubt, and I think you're looking at a run defense here that, like you said, has really struggled. They've struggled in the red zone, really, really poorly done in the red zone. I mean, I have a stat here, 92.3% of their trips inside the 20-yard line resulting in a score. That's awful.
Awful. It's a high percentage.
And I can't even believe that. I'm going to double check this in the break and come back to you on that. But I can't believe that. And you've got to limit those red zone opportunities.
I think a lot of the game comes down to the play callers. Like Zach mentioned, Jeff Lebby and Josh Heupel, their offense is very similar. They're going to try to spread you out. You're going to have to cover every blade of grass on that field. So Tim Banks is going to have to win the chess match of can he trust his corners outside. It's not just Ty Redmond. I feel like I've been bashing him. I'm not trying to. I think he's a great player. He's had some bad plays. But Tim Banks needs to be able to trust his guys on the outside. So when Mississippi State starts getting that run offense going, they can load that box a little bit more and stop them. Because if not, they're going to spread you out to gash you up the middle.
Well, the first true conference road game of the season and is always an important one because it really shows to the world and to the public, do you really have what it takes to win on the road, to dominate, to show that you have what it takes to perform big in an environment that is not your own? And we'll be back later on in the show with our final comments and our picks for this matchup in Starkville, Mississippi. Before the next crew comes up to discuss the latest happenings in college sports, we'll send it back to Allie Campbell and Peyton Chapman.
Just letting the Tennessee faithful get to know you a little bit more. You have some quirks. You have some fun things going on. Big Hamilton fan, I hear. And you actually purchased a George Washington costume.
I did.
Tell me about that.
I'm proud of it. It was before the Missouri game last year. I spent $50 on this George Washington outfit.
Worth it.
And it has been worth it. And then I bought a wig as of recently. I love musicals. So
Me too.
I just had to. It was a have to. I have no regrets.
You are a fan of Rain? Is that true?
I love Rain. Oh my gosh.
Why?
It's so peaceful. I love the smell of it. I don't know. I always give it to God because I'm like, I don't know why God wanted me to have rain right now. I don't know. It just feels like my connection to God is through rain for some reason.
How does your faith influence who you are as a player and a teammate?
Every time before a game, I'll send my mom a little Bible quote because that's how I'm feeling for this game. Always wear a sticky note in either my sleeve or in my knee pad that says, my strength comes from God.
So family seems important to you.
It's very important.
How have they supported you throughout your career?
Oh, my parents have done so much. I don't know. They come to every game. They were in New York this weekend. They're my biggest supporters. Yeah. And I have a brother with Down syndrome. He has a lot of influence in my life as well. He helps me with my career choice. He's helped me become such a good person. And my family is everything to me.
Welcome back to Torch Sports. I'm your host, Alex Carpenter, and we have a loaded lineup for you. I'm joined at the desk by Charlie Fernandez, Jordan Smitherman, and to my right, I have the Jack Glennon. Not only is it a packed lineup, but we also have a lot to cover. So let's get right into it and get started. On Tuesday, the SEC announced the 2025 football schedules for all conference members, including the official release of the 3 permanent opponents. For Tennessee, it's an in-state game against Vanderbilt, the Bluegrass Boys of Kentucky, and everyone's favorite third Saturday in October matchup against Alabama. The Volunteers face major opponents next season, with home games against the Tide, Texas, LSU, and Auburn. How do we feel about this new schedule? Is Tennessee going to struggle against these big-name games? Jack, we'll start with you.
Struggle. I mean, I could realistically see this Tennessee Volunteers team going 0-4, and that is because of the inability of Josh Heupel to show up in these big games. Like our friends on the A block, the first segment mentioned, he is 7-9 in road games. Now, I know those are the scheduled home games, but he's 2-2 versus Alabama in his career at Tennessee. Could easily be 2-3 in a couple of weeks. He is 0-5 versus Georgia. I could see the Volunteers winning 2 of these games. I could see them winning 0, but I cannot see them going plus 500. I can only see them winning 2 out of these 4 home games. I think it's going to be a very difficult slate, and because of Josh Heupel's inability to win the close, tight ones, I think he's going to struggle to win these ones.
But Jack, think about this. Since 2021, 2022, Georgia, we have only lost to the Georgia Bulldogs at Neyland Stadium. Those are the only 2 losses. So if it's the road, yeah, that's a totally different story. But in Neyland, we are a powerhouse. I think anyone can come to Neyland and they could lose.
Listen, Jordan, I'm going to have to disagree with you. Jack, I agree with you. This will be a huge test for the Tennessee Volunteers this year. I could easily see them losing 3 or 4 games. You talk about Texas. They're starting to become the powerhouse of the SEC besides Georgia, arguably. Steve Sarkisian has a 7-1 record since being in the SEC last season. This will be a tough test. And also, when you look at some of these teams, too, you know, a lot of it is you look at the teams, how they're playing this year, and you don't realize how much a roster can change next year. So I think it is kind of fair to look at it right now and say that we will lose some of these games. But I think how much the rosters change, we will have to see how it plays out next year.
But y'all don't think like the Neyland effect will like come into effect? Y'all don't think the crowd will be a big factor?
It will be a big factor, but what did it get us against Georgia? What did it get the Tennessee fan base against Georgia? A heartbreaking defeat, like it always is. I mean, that's just the bottom line. This home schedule is so much harder than anything that we have seen in Knoxville the last 5 years. Anything.
But with Georgia, what we did a couple weeks ago is what we've been wanting to do for years, is not get manhandled by them, and we were up with them till the final second.
Doesn't matter. They lost the game.
Okay.
I mean, still, when you look at it, too, I think Vanderbilt with being one of the 3 opponents that we play every year now, you know, look at the game last year. That was pretty much a home game for the Volunteers. So I think this year it won't be too hard. Even though it's a rivalry matchup, I don't think it'll be a test for the Volunteers.
I will tell you this. I believe this is a victory for the fans that will be allowed to go into Neyland Stadium next fall and see all of these high-grade matchups. When was the last time that Tennessee faced off against LSU in Neyland Stadium? It might have been the game where it was pouring down rain and foggy at halftime, if anyone remembers that one. Texas in Neyland Stadium, it's going to be electric. We'll see if the Neyland effect is able to have a difference for Tennessee. I'll say this. I think the SEC is making a statement with the 3 permanent opponents that Tennessee received in Vanderbilt, Kentucky, and Alabama. The SEC gave Tennessee an absolutely treacherous, like, alternating opponents. So I'm glad to see that, because you look at the schedule for next season and you see a lot of games that are difficult, but they're not going to be every year like Vanderbilt, Kentucky, or Alabama. Do you like those 3 opponents, just real quick?
I do. I mean, I think the only problem with that is that Kentucky has to play somebody, right? I mean, Vanderbilt makes sense. It's in-state. Alabama, obviously. I'd like to see the Tennessee Volunteers play Florida or Georgia, but Kentucky has to play somebody.
Yes, absolutely, Jack. I think, too, Alabama was one that had to be in there. Tennessee's been playing Vanderbilt forever. They should be playing Vanderbilt and Alabama. I think the Kentucky was the one game in which they could have substituted it for someone else. Mm-hmm. But as you said, they have to play somebody each year.
I have to agree with the rest of them. The only thing that I thought was a little bit maybe was Florida. I thought Florida would be in there instead of Kentucky, but then once you look back, Kentucky has more of a long historical rivalry than before any of our time. So in the end, that makes more sense than Florida.
And here is the good news for Tennessee fans. That rivalry with Florida is not going anywhere. It's not gone forever. These permanent opponents will switch, I believe, every 5 years. They're going to reevaluate as a conference, see what's working, see what isn't. And they're also going to play the Florida Gators, I think it's every 2-3 years. I saw the schedule. I think they play again in 2027. But we're going to switch gears now. Switching to basketball. The men and women's teams kicked off official practice for the new season this week. And you can tell that both coaches are amped up to get this season started. For Rick Barnes, it's a season full of anticipation as highly touted freshman Nate Ament arrives to Rocky Top as the highest rated recruit to ever attend the university for the program. Taking a look at Tennessee's non-conference schedule, you see games against Houston and Illinois at a neutral site, home games against Louisville and in upstate New York against Syracuse for the ACC-SEC Challenge. My question to you guys is, do you believe that in the non-conference that Tennessee is going to be able to have as good of a start as they did last season, undefeated going into SEC play?
I do. I believe that this is going to be a team that's going to look strong. I think that they infused a lot of their team with youth after losing obvious huge pieces: Zakai Ziegler, Jemai Masak, Chaz Lanier, Igor Milicic Jr., Jordan Gainey, Dubar. There's a number of guys that Tennessee lost that contributed so much to this team, 6 of their top 7 rotational players. But they infused it, like you said, with Nate Ament, with transfers like Jacoby Gillespie and Jalen Carey, a former Vanderbilt forward who can provide a lot of immediate impact. So I think that this is a helpful factor for Tennessee in the sense that they still have Rick Barnes running this program. There's a lot of speculation he might retire after Zakai Ziegler left. He's still there, and as long as he's there, they're always going to be competitive.
Listen, Jack, I need to slightly disagree with you. I think Rick Barnes is poised, and I think he knows how to coordinate a winning basketball program. But also, it's hard when you have a lot of guys who leave the team, and you have a lot of new players who come in who haven't played together, and there's not too much team chemistry. Take a look at one team, the New York Nets, moving on to NBA, when you had the big three: KD, James Harden, Kyrie Irving. 3 very talented players. They just didn't mesh well. They weren't able to do it. So I know with Nate Ament coming in, I think very big prospect, as you said, Alex. But I think, will they be able to mesh together? Will they be able to play together? That's the real question.
That's always.
I'm kind of on Charlie's side here too, because I think Tennessee will be good eventually. It will just take them some time to gel it all together. There's going to be new leaders that will have to step up. Zakai Ziegler and Jemai Masak were the heartbeat of this team and of that program, so it's going to take some time for new leaders to step up. Rick Barnes, I think he'll be fine. The Vols will be fine, but it'll take them more time to gel, and I don't think the Vols will be as good right off the bat.
Do you think the expectations are still to make the Final Four, to compete at a high level?
I think they always should be. I mean, that is the expectation with the competitive team, a competitive program like the Tennessee Volunteers, known for their athletic programs, especially with a guy like Rick Barnes, who's still waiting to make his Final Four debut with the Volunteers. And that's an infamous part of his history, one of the only blemishes that he's had as a Tennessee Volunteer. My expectations for this Volunteers team are still sky high. I think new leadership will kind of come around and gel. Like you said, it will take some time. But last year they lost Dalton Connect before they started the season, and Chaz Lanier was able to step up as a leader as well. So
yes, those should be the expectations every year. I know Tennessee has struggled getting to the Final Four, but the Volunteers every year being in the SEC, their goal should be Final Four, national championship, really just make a deep tournament run. Last year we saw in the SEC play they did struggle on offense at times, especially in that game against Houston and Auburn. Will they be able to turn it around this year with the new lineup? That seems to be remains to be the question.
And I think the expectations are still as high as ever. They should be as high as ever with back-to-back Elite 8 appearances, and it can only be up from here for the Vols.
It's going to be exciting to see if Rick Barnes can do it again, if he can take a team of transfers with Nate Ament, this highly rated prospect, Jacoby Gillespie taking the place of Zakai Ziegler, and turn something around.
And Rick Barnes has proven that.
He has time and time again at Tennessee. Now we're going to shift gears to the women's side. For Kim Caldwell and her team, it's year 2 of the run-and-gun offense with 5 players in and 5 players out, constantly applying pressure on the court. Caldwell's squad is loaded with young talent, including the Paldugo twins and Cleveland, Tennessee native Lauren Hurst. The Lady Vols also returned players like Talasia Cooper, Z Spearman, and recent returnee to the team, Ruby Whitehorn. My question is simple, guys. Can Caldwell build on her Sweet 16 run in her first season with this group?
I definitely think she can. But the only thing that worries me about the Lady Vols is their inexperience with the new young stars. Yes, they do have the #1 recruiting class in the country for 2025, but I don't know if it'll translate well.
Absolutely. And in women's basketball, what differs between men's basketball, too, is that you really need to play good in the beginning of the season in order to get a high seed in the tournament. Because you have some of these powerhouse schools, you look at UConn, LSU, South Carolina. It is difficult for them if you go up against an opponent like that in the tournament. Tennessee losing last year in the Sweet 16. So this year, I think if they really can hone in on and focus on winning their regular season games, especially conference play, then they can make a deep run in the tournament.
Yeah, they can build on it. And for me, it's very simple. Retention, retention, retention. You mentioned Z Spearman, Ruby Whitehorn, and Talasia Cooper are back. In college basketball now, especially with the transfer portal, retention is so huge, and having that continuity and being able to build that multi-year culture with the same players is going to be huge for the Vols.
We're glad to see Ruby Whitehorn return to the team as well. It's a big statement for this team to be able to have such a star player as her. We're going to see if Kim Caldwell can do it again and if the Tennessee Basketballs can get it done across the street at the Food City Center. That's going to wrap things up on this segment of Torch Sports. We thank you for your time. For Jack, Charlie, and Jordan, I'm Alex Carpenter, and we ask that you keep your hands off that remote and stay tuned for what's next. Don't go anywhere.
Why is just a starting line? For the true self blooms only when we find our purpose, what makes us tick, below the surface. Our reason why is united, undivided, seeking understanding. My why is diversity and unity, a safe space in my community. It's a million faces in a mirror, and everyone belongs. Find your why for a better us.
Imagine a disease that affects more than 10 million Americans, yet few know its name. I'm talking about lymphedema, LE. Many people, like my mom, get it as a result of cancer treatment, and afterwards face a lifetime of swelling and pain. The cruel irony is many times its severity can be lessened only if you learn about it and act in advance. If you're at risk, ask your doctor about lymphedema. Take this as your chance to learn and live.
We are the Tennessee Volunteers. And now is our time. Time for unbeatable experiences, for bold innovation, for historic moments. It's time to do what Vols do best. More life-changing research, more problem solving, more lighting the way. We have what it takes. It takes a volunteer.
Welcome back to the show, ladies and gents. We are just about to wrap things up, so it is time to pick who is coming away with a W between the Volunteers and the Bulldogs in Starkville, Mississippi. What do you got, Patrick?
Well, Jeremy, I'm very excited because the studio gave me a little gift today. Instead of a paper, I got a whiteboard. Look at me. Look at that right there. And it's money in the banks, and that is for Tim Banks. I think he needs to step up big. He needs to get his defense going schematically. He needs to put his players in the right position. And I think Tennessee gets a statement win, 34-21 on the road.
Well, I don't know how I'm going to top that, but I am going to say that it is going to be a close game, a dangerous environment, but I still believe that the Volunteers are going to come out with a win. It's going to be low scoring, I believe. It's going to be 27-20 Volunteers over the Bulldogs. How about you, Luke?
I'm on the same page as y'all. I think this offense is going to keep rolling. I think Joey Aguilar is going to handle the pressure well, go down to Starkville, get a win. And so I'm taking Tennessee this one, 31-28. I think it's going to be a close one.
Yeah, guys, despite the cowbells, I like Aguilar down. I like Aguilar down in Starkville. Now, look, I think both these teams are going to be firing on all cylinders, and I think Tennessee's got to make their tackles, and I think Aguilar and that Vol offense, they've got to make it happen the way it's been happening the last couple of weeks. I'm going to go 31-24 here. Tennessee takes it.
A lot of faith in the Volunteers in this game against Mississippi State. So now that everybody at the desk has their picks, let's send it back to the play-by-play guys for theirs.
Yeah, thanks, Jeremy. I think one thing that we're not focused on is that these defenses, the offenses, I think, overpower both of them. If I'm a betting man, I'm betting the over in this one. I've been going back and forth on this all week because this has been a position that Tennessee could lose, they could win. I think I'm going to trust them. I'm going to go Tennessee 41, Mississippi State 37.
Ooh, interesting. Now, the boys are headed down to Starkville. It's the first away conference game of the year. It's the land of the cowbell. Unfortunately, I do think that there's a chance that we don't come back with the win. But those chances are slim. 41-38, give me the Vols. I think it's a Max Gilbert revenge game. He's coming back, and he's going to win the game for us, for Tennessee on Saturday.
Thank you, guys. In games like this, you never know what to expect. It could be a low-scoring defensive battle. It could be an offensive shootout. And I'm just anticipating to see how this matchup is going to go between the Volunteers and the Bulldogs. Well, thank you all once again for tuning in today for another edition of Torch Sports. Unfortunately, there will be no show next week, but don't you worry, because in 2 weeks, I know how you're feeling. Don't worry, because in 2 weeks, we'll be back to talk about the return to Neyland Stadium and a rematch with the Arkansas Razorbacks. And during that break, our social media crew will be staying on task to bring you the latest sports stories on Rocky Top. Make sure you follow us at Torch Sports UTK on Instagram and TikTok, and at Torch Sports_UTK on X. For Patrick Falcon, for Luke Attal, for Luke Lemery, and everybody else here at TVC, I'm Jeremy Knopf II saying have an awesome weekend. We'll see you again soon. That was Torch Sports!